What's up, everyone? So I wanted to make a quick video today because I actually built something pretty useful for myself, and I figured I'd share it with everyone. As a kind of full-time employee, as well as someone who does consulting on the side, one of the biggest challenges I have is actually being able to post content consistently on the website, specifically blog posts, and then posting LinkedIn and X posts to kind of socialize and drive traffic to our website. About 6 months ago, I got really deep into hey, how can I leverage AI to automate a lot of the researching and being able to do the first drafts of blogging. So first off, huge shout out to DeepLearning.AI and Dave Ebbelaar, both amazing resources. The kind of quality content they put out is crazy. But about a month and a half ago, I started building an agentic workflow because it was extremely difficult to be able to post content on the website consistently. And I was like, hey, this is a very straightforward process that I think we could automate with a ton of AI. And so I want to walk through that entire workflow today, the technologies that I'm using, the design decisions I made, and hopefully you'll find a ton of value out of the video today. Now, before we dive in, quick intro to me. My name is Sanjay Ravichandran. I'm a full-time enterprise sales rep at an AI infrastructure company. And on the side, I consult with B2B startups on how to improve their go-to-market strategy, how to generate more pipeline, how to close deals at a higher rate and at a faster rate. Here I'm really interested in kind of the intersection between AI and how it's impacting sales and marketing and just overall distribution. So I'm going to be posting a lot of content here, hopefully in the future, around what I'm seeing as far as how AI is really impacting our ability to sell, as well as our ability to get attention from the market. All right, guys, so I do want to start with a 30,000 foot view first, and then we'll actually dive into the code and actually zoom into each of the different stages. This system is a 5-stage pipeline. Stage 1 is the researcher. This agent goes out to the web, find what's trending, and comes back with 8 to 12 relevant topic ideas. Stage 2 is the drafter. So it picks a topic and writes a full blog post based on the criteria, tone, and brand guidelines that I've given it. And then stage 3 is the reviewer. So this actually grades the first draft against a scoring rubric that I've provided. And then stage 4 is the reviser. It actually takes the first draft and the revisions and the suggested revisions from the reviewer and then rewrites the blog. And then stage 5 is a socializer. This actually generates LinkedIn posts as well as tweets from the finished blog to drive some traffic to the website. Cool. So now that you guys have a 30,000 foot view on exactly what's happening in the pipeline, let's actually dive into the project itself. So I'm in VS Code, just a quick overview in the Claude.md. So the tech stack is Python, Anthropic. This calls out OpenAI, but this is really the Perplexity Sonar Pro API. It's OpenAI compatible. And then LangSmith to do the observability and tracing. This isn't calling a whole lot of tools, but LangSmith has been really good at showing me how long each of the different steps take and then what's the cost associated with them. And then here's the actual project structure itself. And then one thing to call out is here are the agents: researcher, drafter, reviewer, reviser, socializer. And then there's a main agent that actually orchestrates all the stages and then actually has the human gate as well. And then here, if you look at the projects, here are all of the different system prompts for the different agents. Here are the actual agent files themselves. And then here is the main agent as well. The config.py has all of the kind of model names themselves. So if we actually go into one of the agents, you'll see it has hook model. So this is just a quick way to kind of modularize which models you want to use for each of the different agents. Now, while we're here, let's actually run this pipeline just so you can see exactly what is happening. So let's do Python 3 main.py. So this is initializing. It says enter a research topic, press enter for a broad scan. What the broad scan is this is specific for my brand. So there's a couple keywords that I'm always looking at in hey, what are the latest trends in sales? What's the latest trends in AI? So if I just hit enter, it's just going to go find broad topics. I'm going to say, what are the latest announcements from NVIDIA in GTC last week? And so here it's starting with stage 1. So this is calling the Perplexity Sonar. Okay, so Perplexity returned results, and then those topics are getting formatted by Claude Haiku. Okay, cool. So now that the researcher agent is done, it gives me 10 topics to look at. Let me actually make this a little bit bigger. says why open source dev tools must abandon cloud native for local AI infrastructure. This is on the infrastructure side. Nemo Claw. Okay, so it's got a couple pretty interesting topics. Some of them are more kind of broader stage with just like dev tools, and it kind of ties back to GTC from NVIDIA. Some of them are more like announcements like Nemo Claw as a whole. But let's just pick one. Obviously here you can enter a draft. So I'm just going to pick number 1. And then this is going to start stage 2A. This is just the hook generation for the blog. I've just separated this out so I can experiment with different ways to write a hook. That's the only reason. And then here are the different hook options. Why open source dev tools must abandon. Let's do number 3. And then now it's starting stage 2, which is like the actual drafting. Okay, so the drafting step got completed. So it actually wrote this out. If you actually come up here, where is it? We can actually see the drafts. And then what's that called? Open source dev tools. Okay, so here's the first draft of the of this topic. And then it went to the reviewer. It passed the review step. It got a 4.2. And since it passed, there's no reason to necessarily revise the article. And then here it's like, okay, so here's the revised one. So this is the one that'll actually be kind of for human review. And then stage 5, oh, whoops, let me go back here. Stage 5, it says socializing. So it's actually now taking that revised blog post and then generating a LinkedIn post and then an X post. So if you go to social, we can actually see right here, it generated a, oops, let me move this down. It generated a LinkedIn post. So this is like a contrarian take. And it goes through like what you would post on LinkedIn. And then similarly, if we go to X, it posts what we would have in like an X thread in order to drive traffic to this post. And before we actually dive out of VS Code is actually, let me walk through the rubric itself. So this is, I think, very key in ensuring that the output of the drafter and the overall pipeline is up to par. And so here, if you actually look at these are actually blogs that I've written myself. And I use this and basically use Claude to generate a rubric to kind of distill my brand voice and my tone and put together a rubric here that the reviewer agent uses to grade the drafts. And so there's like a hook, an opening, weighted very high. Here's a scoring criteria. If it's below 3, we need to rewrite and lead with, like this is the recommendation on how to rewrite it. The thesis and structure, if there's any proof points from any customers I've worked with, the voice and tone. This is something I added recently, which is AEO and SCO structure, and then CTA and closing. And eventually this gives a score across all 6 dimensions and averages it out. If it's over a 4.0, then you need to, then you pass the step and no revisions are necessary. If it's under a 4.0, then the article will be rewritten. But this is a very key piece in being able to, 1, ensure the output of the LLMs are good, and then 2, since this is a separate file and not hard-coded into the reviewer agent itself, I can come here and just work on the rubric if I need to make changes without actually having to change the code of the agent. Quick thing I do want to show is we're in LangSmith, so this is how I do observability on this agentic workflow. This isn't calling like a whole lot of like tools, but the main things I'm looking at is like, hey, how long did the overall pipeline take end to end? So this was 267 seconds. What was the overall cost? So in order to generate that blog, it cost about 15 cents. And then if you actually click in, you can actually get a lot more kind of information. So you can see like, hey, stage 1 end to end took about 87 seconds. And then if you go here, you can see like stage 2 was about 82 seconds. Stage, like generating the hook was, 10 seconds. And these are like the token costs associated with it. So this has been really helpful just to see like where the kind of bottlenecks are in your overall pipeline. So apparently here, right, like stage 1 and then stage 2 are the biggest ones. And so, there could be some room for optimization. I mean, for me, this is an internal app, so nothing, too crazy, but, if this was customer facing, for example, like a chatbot or something like that, like maybe you would actually need to worry about latency. Now, I want to give a quick overview of some of the key technology kind of design decisions that I had to make. The first one was like, what exactly is the researcher agent going to be able to do? What tools is it going to use to be able to actually go out into the internet and find the correct sources and the latest trends to be able to write these blogs? So I had three main options just based on my research. I had Firecrawl, I had Tvili, and then I had Perplexity. Now I know a lot of people use Tvili and Firecrawl today. For me, Firecrawl I think was a little bit lacking when I was looking at it, primarily because it was really good at scraping and basically taking websites and creating markdown files for your LLMs. But what I really needed is high quality research, citations, and being able to kind of congregate both search and kind of synthesization of like the latest trends, and then feed that into the drafter model. So ultimately I ended up going with Perplexity. It's actually a little bit more expensive than Tvili and Firecrawl, but for writing high quality content, I wanted to make sure that at the very kind of start of like, hey, what we're writing about is accurate and relevant to the audience. Now, the second technology decision I made was around using what's called like an LLM as a judge. This is something that I've been learning about over the last 6 months around, especially from the Agentic AI course from DeepLearning.AI. Essentially what it is you use another model to be able to grade or rate the output of a previous model. And so in this example, right, we have the drafter agent, which is writing the first draft of the blog topic. And then we have a LLM as a judge or a reviewer agent to actually grade that draft against a rubric. Now, one of the key design decisions I made was actually I started, I think the conventional wisdom is you use like the biggest, baddest model because you're going to get the best output and the best results. But the problem with that is it adds a lot of cost and it actually adds a lot of time in this process. So what I actually did is I used Anthropic's smallest model, which at least as of today is Haiku. And that did a really good job of being able to read the draft and then write a scorecard and recommended revisions to that draft. And I think the reason it works is one, the revising stage doesn't really involve a lot of reasoning. It's not a very ambiguous task. And I gave it a rubric, which gives it very explicit guidelines on how to actually grade the draft itself. So that actually saved quite a bit of time and quite a bit of money to actually move from like a Sonnet or an Opus into a smaller model like Haiku. So the last like major kind of design decision I decided to make was actually using raw Anthropic API calls versus using like the Claude Agent SDK. The primary reason is I actually started using the Agent SDK. I thought it would be very cool. It's like a newer technology. You hear about these agent harnesses. What I ended up realizing after I ran the pipeline a few times is it was actually costing like magnitude of like 10x what it cost to just do a raw Anthropic API call. It also took way longer to run this pipeline end to end. And so what I realized after doing more research and some more education is that actually, even before that, what I realized because of Langsmith and actually seeing the full trace is that the researcher and the drafter agent using the SDK were basically reasoning and doing just multiple turns over the exact same draft or the output of the research. And that was taking a ton of time on the first two research steps. In reality, like if you think about like how a human writes a blog, like how I used to write blogs, is I'd go on Google, go on LinkedIn, find inspiration. I'd sit down, write a first draft, probably go get lunch or coffee or something, come back, look at it, make some edits, maybe some grammatical tweaks, look at maybe existing blogs in that same space. And then from there, I would go and publish it, right? That is a very kind of deterministic, very kind of structured process that I had in writing. And I think for this particular process for me, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to use like the ADK for Anthropic because it wasn't really a whole lot of reasoning. We didn't need to do this like crazy looping process. We just needed to go kind of step by step and then deliver an outcome. And then eventually a human is going to read it and then take it and then publish it. Okay, so that's the video for today. Hopefully you guys found a lot of value out of it. Please, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be posting a ton more content here around like sales and AI. One other thing is, if you did stay till the end of the video and you want to actually recreate this blogging agent, I'm going to link to a landing page where you can actually get the implementation guide. What that is you can take the implementation guide. It's a file. It goes through each of the different steps in the build order, how to kind of checkpoint and test each of the different steps. Long story short, take the implementation guide, feed it to Claude, feed it to Codex, feed it to Anti-Gravity, whatever coding agent you're using, and it'll actually create this exact same blog agent step by step. The only thing you have to do is get the API keys from Perplexity and Anthropic and then plug it into your environment variables. But then after that, you'll have a fully working kind of agentic blogging agent.